Well, hello there. My name is Alison Woodall, and I'm a relocation specialist. That means I get to help you with the financial, logistical, and emotional issues that make moving to a new state so stressful. And today I am talking to Ronit Krancberg, and she is a professional organizer based in Dallas, Texas. Ronit, welcome.
Well, thank you for welcoming me.
Well, I am so excited to talk to you today because I know that you are going to be able to help so many people who feel completely overwhelmed at the thought of packing up their house and moving. But before we start talking about all your professional tips, I would love to know just a little bit about you, because you moved from Montreal to California and then moved from California to Dallas. So tell me why you left California and moved to Texas.
All right. So with that being said, thank you very much for everybody who's listening to this. I grew up in Montreal, and in 1982, I moved to California thinking that I could get away from the winters and the Quebec situation with the referendums. I landed in Los Angeles. I established myself. I did a lot of administrative assistant office, corporate office work. Then I got married, had a child, got divorced, and then things started changing in the 80s, late 90s, just because of the cost of living in California. I still enjoyed it. I absolutely thrived over there. It was wonderful. But with everything said, the taxes, the cost of living, my son became an adult. He left high school, and that's when I knew that this was time to do something different. I researched between two states, and I picked Dallas, Texas. And I moved here this past March.
And are you loving it? Is it what's that for anyone who's thinking of moving to Dallas? What's the best part about being in Dallas?
The cost of living, the friendliness, the people that are so patriotic. They live life a totally different way, and I'm learning that. I'm adapting to it. I'm enjoying meeting new people, and I'm networking, and I'm obviously helping people a little bit here and there too that have moved and need their help, my help to them.
I would move to Dallas in a heartbeat if I could. It's one of my favorite cities. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it there. So I would love to get onto some of your tips for someone who is maybe, I'm thinking probably someone who's maybe moving out of California for the first time and has an awful lot of stuff and they just don't know where to begin. Where would you start? What are your kind of top tips?
All right. Knowing that many people have been fleeing California to other states, whether it be Texas, whether it be Tennessee, Arizona, Nevada. A lot of people have been born, raised, and forever and lived there, and that is a frightening feeling for them. Hence, a lot of stuff. So with that being in mind, once you exactly figure out when you want to move, give yourself that time, that spread time to purge, get rid of the things that you don't need anymore. And what you're attached to are different from what you look at it. If you're attached to something that's torn, take a picture of it, put it in your memory digital camera or memory digital flash drive, and you'll have pictures of the things that you liked a lot, and you can always look back to them. So I would tell everybody to start small, but take a list, go to the rooms, and make a punch list of where you're going to focus on changing the things that you want to get rid of the things you want. So you do that punch list. You go to the cupboards, to the closets, to the drawers, under the bed. People forget things that they put aside and put away, even especially in the garages. If you own a house and you have a garage, hit the garage first, only because you can clear out a lot of that area to make room for the boxes you're staging for the movers to take onto the truck. So then you don't have to overwhelm yourself with everything in the house. When you take that trash bag, just look for things that have holes, things that are torn up, things that you really realize you don't need anymore, things that are tattered, throw it away. Make sure that you do that. Then keep another box or a bag for donations, things that are decent enough to give away and that you don't want anymore. And then the best part of it, you're going to be left behind with the things you're going to be packing. So it's like a process of elimination.
And I talked to a lady once who said that when she was moving and she was kind of stuck with, you know, what she should take, she tried to envisage what her life was going to be like in her new state, even though she didn't actually know where she was moving to or what her house would look like. She knew what kind of house she wanted. She knew what she wanted her lifestyle to be like. And so all those things that she knew she wouldn't carry on with in her new life, like she used to quilt and she decided she wasn't going to quilt anymore. She knew that her quilting supplies didn't have to go with her. She knew that there were certain things that fitted in the house that she had right now, but she wanted a much more modern house, so she wasn't going to take them with her. So once she'd gone through, like you say, those things that she definitely didn't want or that were broken or worn out, she then tried to sort the things that still worked and were still functional and decide what would fit in her new life and what wouldn't. Is that something you would suggest?
That definitely works it out. Now, if you're alone and you're single, incorporate a couple of good friends to helping you if you can't afford an organizer. Some organizers will give consultation rates, so you can use their plan, their outline, and you run with it on your own. But yes, and if you're married, you're going to be bickering. Again, try to get somebody who's a third party that isn't there to take all that time to make that decision, because time is of essence when you want to, all of a sudden you realize you're what, a week left before you move and you haven't done certain things. So keep the timeline going, and you can make a party out of it. Bring a couple of friends, bring in lunch, and let them help you focus on the things. Another area is really terrible is the bathrooms. You'll have expired items, things that have outdated themselves and old. Get rid of it. Those are easy to do with someone else doing that while you do the precious things and the more valuable things. Same thing with the pantry.
Yeah, I definitely love that idea of someone who's like an impartial third person who can say, no, why would you keep that? Well, if you like it, take a picture of it. I have several friends who I imagine I could pack up some kind of hoarder's house with them if they were helping me, because they are just those kind of people who just make good rational decisions. So I really like that. And then, so once you've got down to the things that you know that you're going to take, you mentioned putting tape on things, pieces of furniture that you wanted to move so that you know what's going to go. Is that's if you're loading it, or if you're getting friends to load, or if you have professional movers? Is that just good practice?
So again, the scenario is such that if you want to leave behind furniture to be hauled out, or furniture to give away or donate, or maybe you want to do a small estate sale, again, it's all based on how much time you have left to do these things. So obviously putting the blue painter's tape on the furniture that you're keeping to move, so nobody gets confused. Oops, they took away the chair that I wanted to take, and that tape, and I write down on marker, move to Texas, or move. I have a client that's moving to Tennessee. All the moved furniture she's taking, I put the tape on and said, move to Tennessee. So she knows what is going to be taken. You take an inventory, and this is one of them. And then the tape helps you a lot.
Yeah. And then you'd said about, so like you say you have a garage, then you clear your garage, and then you stack your boxes into that space. So then that gives you kind of like that clearness where you can clear one room into that space. Or when we moved from Florida, we were in 1,000 square foot apartment, so I didn't have a big space, so we just took our dining table down and stacked all our boxes there, so that then the furniture, everything other than the big furniture, you could put in that kind of holding space. And everything that you want to take and all the things that you don't want to take can go somewhere else.
Right. So again, with this woman that I'm moving her to Tennessee, she's going to make an estate sale. So we put aside, we took the cupboards, the things that she wanted, we put on one side of the cupboard so it'd be ready for packing, and everything else for sale somewhere else. If we emptied out a cupboard, I put a tape across the door so nobody would keep looking to see if there's anything in there. Little tips like that is more efficient than repetitive stuff that you think you did or didn't do.
Yes, I love that. So because the house that we just moved out of in California, we packed up. It took us like 4 days to pack it up. And I must have opened cabinets probably 10 times, because the closer your move date gets, the more exhausted you are, the less brain power you have. I was literally, did I clean this cabinet? Did I clear this cabinet? And my kids were doing the same, and my husband was doing the same. So I love that, tape it over so you don't keep searching. So when you've got everything rationalized down, you've got your different piles for donating, estate sales, for trash, for the things that are going with you. How do you actually pack those boxes? Because if you'd seen the way that I packed up, because we did it so quickly, you'd have been horrified.
I could imagine.
But I did it. I only had one. I had one picture frame that was a really cheap IKEA picture frame, and the glass cracked. But everything else was fine. So even though it was very unconventional, and I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, what would be your professional organizing way to pack up?
Well, from trial and error. So this is what and actually when I packed me up, and I had a couple of my friends help me do that. When I moved everything here and the movers brought it, and I started unloading the boxes, I only had one broken Pyrex, and everything was just pretty good. One broken thing. It will happen, but at the same time, to prevent it from happening, this is what you do. With anything fragile, like the glassware, the dinnerware, anything that's breakable, you create the small boxes and medium, depending on the heaviness of it all. Don't pack anything in large boxes thinking you can save money in large boxes and lump everything together. So with the small boxes, especially for dinnerware, dishes, everything like that, you line the box with the few of the packing paper. After that, you start taking the packing paper and you fold the plates in it. Do not stack them on top of each other. Stack them side by side by side by side. The heavy stuff first, and then on top, the lighter stuff first. And you cushion them with more paper, a layer. And then again, you do more of wrapping. And also make sure you fill it to the top where there's filler, so that the flaps do not collapse, because that changes it too. The wiggle room becomes a little bit more problematic. And same with glassware. Keep glasses together. Don't mix glasses with dishes. Always keep the same things together. Kitchens are the worst, really the worst to pack. With the pots and pans, they get heavy. So again, maybe medium to a large box, depending on how much you have. And you could wrap them in towels so that you'll have your towels already packaged, and it's cushioning everything. And that's not too bad. Now, when you seal everything, don't write on the top, because you know what? They stack everything on the top and you can't read what the box is all around. So I do it in 3 places: the top, the side, and the front. And when I stack them and they're ready to see what they are, the movers will actually see where they will go. So they understand. So the top. I always write the word heavy, so that they know they're carrying something extremely heavy. If I did it by mistake or purposely, pots and pans, heavy books. If there's a book box that's so heavy, I write down the word heavy. They understand, so they don't just willy-nilly throw it. They know how to deal with it. Fragile, make sure you use the words fragile where everything else is breakable.
I like it. Well, and I always know my kitchen is going to be the hardest place. So what I suggest to people, like you said earlier, in the beginning, start with the garage, or if you have a storage unit. I don't know if people in California use storage units like people in the South. Everybody I know in the South has a storage unit, and it's where you put all that stuff that you don't think about, and it's the worst thing to try and sort. So I always say storage unit first if you have one, then a garage or a basement.
Right.
And then the kitchen. And the big thing, so like if you move by yourself, obviously the whole burden falls on you. But if you have, you know, a spouse or a partner or teen children, people always underestimate the power of teens. My kids literally at 13 and 14 packed up their whole bedrooms. My husband took the, you know, I don't want to say man stuff, but I'm not going to sort his tools, but tools are so incredibly
hefty stuff.
Yeah, that it was just, for us, it was just a sensible delegation of labor. He did tools and stuff, and then I did kitchen stuff, and we broke the back of it. That first day we did the stuff that we were dreading, and we packed it up. And as the week went on, you know, we started off organized and labeled, and then towards the end it was like, throw it in a box, pad it as best we can with towels and bed linen. And I think if you have the time, you have to be organized. You have to start with the worst area first, and sometimes the sentimental stuff as well. That can be the hardest to pack, like going through, if you've had kids, your kids' stuff.
Yeah. What you can do too with all that, and especially in the time, for example, you're doing the kitchen and you packed everything up, but you're not leaving it for 2 weeks. What do? So this is what you should be doing practically. Buy paper plates, paper cups, everything like that. If you're getting rid of pots and pans that you don't like using and you don't want them, use them and then get rid of them afterwards. Create the fact that you're going to use a little bit less in your kitchen, but make sure you have access to things that you need to eat and prepare. You know, leave behind a couple of bowls that you don't want so that you can use those bowls. And again, paper plates and plastics, it's terrific to have. And then you can toss it, leave the place empty and move on.
I love that. Yeah, I kept out my favorite pan that I knew I could cook like 90% of my meals in if I needed to, and a baking sheet, and yeah, and just kept it as simple as possible. And then in my last box, which actually is normally my laundry basket, gets packed with all those final odds and ends. And
right.
It had the pan in it, and it had a couple of glass. We were drinking out of the big water bottles that we were going to take on our road trip to Georgia with us in those last few days. So
you pack the things that you don't need immediately, that you realize you're never going to use until you get there, and then slowly get to the point of things that you're using to pack those up. Make sure you have leftover boxes for those. And okay, here's another very important one for the women especially, or valuable stuff. So I tell my clients, carry your valuable jewelry with you, whether you're flying over, you know, your carry-on bags, whatever. If you're driving, carry with you your valuables, your bank statements that you need, if you have a big enough car where you can put a box worth of your income taxes, you don't want to pack it up. You don't know who, how, what's going to happen, any vandalism or anything. Keep everything close to yourself, either driving out or in luggage that you're going to use to fly out. Now, with regular jewelry, costume jewelry, things that are very precious, a box that you mark with the letter J, big, bold, and circle it, you know, like Circle K. Only because nobody will know what that J stands for, only you. It means jewelry or anything that you know that stands out to be valuable. So the letter J on any one of the boxes all around, and you could put it with red and black so that it doesn't show any much more tension. Nobody's going to know what the letter J is, but that means jewelry. My clients adored that. So they knew where to find that particular box and open it first when they get to their new place.
Well, wonderful. Well, I think we've kind of covered packing up. So when you get to your new house and your moving stuff arrives, how do you unpack? Do you have a system for unpacking as well? Because you help people unpack when they get to Dallas, don't you?
The first thing to do is unpack your kitchen and your bedroom. So you have things to use when you need to eat or make something, and your bedroom so that you can eat. Now, hopefully all of you might want to take the most important pieces of furniture nowadays: inflation, cost rising, prices increasing, delivery, materials late, everything is stalled to the point where now, in the past, before COVID, A lot of people got rid of their furniture and started over. You can't do that right now. So take the best of the best with you, even if you didn't want it, bring it with you, and then decide later on to give that away later and buy something new if everything is more accessible in purchasing. And so the kitchen, the bedroom, and other words, later on the tchotchkes, do the big stuff first. Line it up, make sure the movers will put the boxes that are assigned to closest to the room that it's in, so you don't have to run around shoving boxes, shoveling it to the next room. Just make sure they're all together, associated to the room that's going to be unpacked at.
I love it. And we actually did a road trip when we left California to Georgia, so we could see some things on the way. And I found that, you know, I had my essential clothes with me. I had my essential toiletries with me. So like you say, the moment our pods got here, you know, my husband and my kids were assembling beds, and then while I was doing the kitchen. And that worked so well, because the kitchen, it takes a while to organize. And the other thing was, I just put stuff where it kind of looked right, just to get the boxes unloaded and, you know, put it out of the living space, so it didn't look like we were, you know, like nomads living out of boxes.
It'll take time. The last thing to do is the pictures on the wall. Just make sure all your cupboards are put together, your closets. That's a nice one. Start fresh by realizing who's going to get which side of the closet. All depending. It becomes easier when you know you've packed the things that you've packed in a way that you can take it out of the box and place it where it has to go.
Yeah, this time we had a lot more clothes because we had a bigger closet in California, so I actually took things off hangers. But when we left Florida, we'd had this teeny tiny closet, and I had like no clothes, so I actually packed everything on my hangers, just in the big storage boxes, because I didn't have that much. So when we got to California, it was really easy. I just pulled everything out of the box on the hanger, and
right, that's the garment boxes. Again, the movers will provide you. They cost a bit, but that's better than taking everything. It's time consuming, taking everything off the hanger to pack it up, to unpack it and put it on the hanger again.
Yes.
So make sure that the coats, they can do that in the garment boxes. It's so much easier.
We weren't expecting to move, so we moved in 8 days, and it was crazy. Normally I would have eaten everything in my pantry. I would have used up all my kitchen towels and my toilet rolls and things. But 2 or 3 weeks before we left, I'd just done this huge like Costco run, and I'd bought one of those giant packs of toilet tissue and kitchen rolls. So literally everything that I had, when you were talking about packing the boxes so that the flaps are, I would open a box and there would be 6 toilet rolls or 3 or 4 kitchen towels. So, you know, there's a right way to do things. But if you're in a bind, if you're in a panic, if you're doing it quickly, as long as everything is very well padded, and you're keeping glass things together and books together, and you can.
Right. When you pack books, it's again on the side, not on top of each other. And people should envision how they do, you know, the game of Tetris, how to fit things in boxes. I've seen a lot of people just throw. That makes it even worse, because things get crumpled, things get trashed inside. So if you can create a very comfortable looking Tetris design of things that fit perfectly in the box, then nothing will break.
Perfect. And then obviously, if you have to load a pod or a U-Haul truck or one of those ABF U-Pack thing, then you want to pack as many things in boxes as possible so that they all stack, and then do a stack of boxes and then tie it off, and then another stack of boxes and tie it off. And it all goes back to Tetris and jigsaw puzzles.
Exactly.
Well, wonderful. Well, anything else that you feel like we haven't covered?
Well, if anybody's moving to Texas, obviously I'm in the Metroplex, Dallas. I offer a half-hour free consultation. If you've moved a little further away, the 20 miles, let's say, then you can send pictures so that I can assess it for free as well. I charge minimum I charge by the hour, and it's minimum 3 hours. You have to make a dent. 3 hours is the best. 4 hours is even better. I will be able to help unpack, because you're so overwhelmed. And if you have kids, you got to be preoccupied with that. So I'm there to help people. who come to Dallas.
Wonderful. And they're also, this will be on the YouTube channel. So there may be people who are leaving Dallas and moving on somewhere else. Maybe they found out that Dallas wasn't the place for them. So, you can obviously help people pack up if they're leaving Dallas, as well as people who are moving to Dallas. So yes. What's the best number to contact you on?
Okay. I still have my 818 area code from California. I'm not going to give that up yet. So my company is called Seize the Space. I'm the professional organizer. I do have, I can resource out. I'm building up my network here as I had in California. My number is 818-390-2235.
Perfect. And I'm going to put all your contact information in the comments. And if someone is not moving anywhere near Texas, what's a good website? Is there like a professional organizing website where they could find someone like you?
Yes. There's a website that provides lists of organizers in states, the United States, Canada. I think they have in England. I'm not sure if they've expanded out of North America. So it's called findmyorganizer.com.
Perfect. And I'll link to that again in the comments. So, because I always think that moving is, when you move to a new state, it's the perfect time to improve the things that maybe you struggle with. And so if someone is moving from California to the Dallas area or wherever, if you've struggled with organization in California, this could be your perfect time to say, I need someone to help me with systems, simple systems that I can maintain that will allow me to be more organized. So, even if you don't need help with your move, it's maybe something that you put on your wish list of things that you want to work on when you get to, to your new state. Every time I move, I try and fix something about me.
That's great. Also, if they want to call me, I've developed networking with some other organizers in different areas of the states. So if you are stuck and you still can't find, they can still call me and I can figure out who to refer out.
Perfect. And you said you'd prefer people to text you before they call you, just
so that I know that you're not a bot call or the scam likely. Say, hi, I saw your video and I'm interested in, and then I'll know who's calling me to call them back or pick it up right away.
Perfect. Yes, I'm obviously on some kind of scam hotline when I think it's a work call or something, and then I hear the music and I'm like, oh. So perfect. Well, thank you so much.
This was lovely.
It's been so helpful for me. I'm sure it's been helpful for so many people who are feeling a little bit overwhelmed, because it is overwhelming to pack up a house, and the longer you've lived in a house, the harder it is, or the younger your kids are. I always think the young kids come with so much stuff that it can, and you don't have time. So if you've got young kids, or whoever you can help, I think you'll have helped so many people.
Thank you so much for reaching out to me.
No problem. Well, you have a wonderful evening.
You too. Thank you.